morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Arya VII on deck. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Never had a bad day in my life.
That's 2 times in a row, I think, since we've established the first question is, what did you think, Kyle, that you changed
Jeff's
it?
just is courteous by nature. He just can't help but ask us how we're doing. But I've never had a bad day in my life, so it's always the same. Kyle, what'd you think of the chapter?
I'm doing all right right now. I was a little sick.
You were sick, but
you're
over
sick.
it?
I'm feeling better now. Yeah, I'm on the
I
other
had
side
a little
of it.
sore throat last week, but just powered through it.
Nothing little Game of
Nelson
Thrones
gave it to
chapter
me.
can't fix. Yeah, might have.
Mine was all in my head. It was like sinus. It was a bad weekend, but I'm good now. Anyway,
You gotta battle through some of that stuff. A little adversity in your life never hurt.
yeah, it's been a while though. I think with COVID and everything, I didn't really get colds. Anyway, we're sidetracked, and I didn't even say how I feel yet. So this was a good one, man. I mean, this is one of those ones where you don't get much story or whatever, but you get a little bit of action. Which, I mean, I know it's probably been a while since I've had this take, right, where it's like I like the chapters where like things are happening.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen a chapter where it was pure fights, and that's really what this one was, right? Like,
yeah,
a lot of fights. We get a little bit of conclusion of the Hound, but.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like the fights. It's the synopsis. Like the cool thing is it's like brave companions is who they're fighting too. So it's like blood. Like the Brotherhood has the bloody mummers. Brave companions, bloody mummers, same thing. Yeah. So
yep,
they clash there. That's cool. That's the beginning. And then they basically are chilling in this like kind of destroyed village inn after this battle, and the Hound shows back up.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I was sad to see. They introduced Kyle and then killed him like a page later. Not even a page later. Yeah. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, Kyle didn't last long.
I was a little bummed. I was like, oh, sweet. I got a Kyle in here. And then he's dead.
I don't know if I ever said it on the podcast, but I definitely told you guys that when I was like messing around coding like AI stuff, I did like code like an AI Game of Thrones name generator. And I made it like a thing where you could like put in a name. It would tell you how probable that name would be to occur in Game of Thrones. And when I put in all of our names, Kyle's was like in the 80%. I didn't think there was I don't remember there was an actual Kyle. I was assuming it was because there's a Y in the middle of a name, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a pretty common thing in Game of Thrones names, even though it's not in normal names. But yeah, it might have been kind of skewed because
it's crazy.
It should have been 100%. There is one. Yeah.
Mine should have been pretty high. It's one letter away from one of the.
But
like,
that's the problem, right? Is that it wouldn't because it's too normal.
It was a really simple AI algorithm. The way it worked was like based on if you see JE, what's the next likely letter, and if you hit that, like, it doesn't matter.
Probably ranked every letter, and then it got percentages based on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you're one letter away. Once you're on JE, you're on a different path completely than JO. So.
Yeah, well, figure it out, would you?
Yeah, I'll get on that.
All right, so let's jump right in. So Arya is kind of like Arya being the cat of the Whispering Woods.
I didn't think about that, but you're dead on. She's like kind of just watching it. Yeah.
Observer. Yeah.
Come on, Kyle's picking up what I'm putting down. Nelson's just sleeping over there in the corner, not paying attention.
She's up on the hill with the other people, like just like Kat was with Hallis Mullen. Yeah.
I know it's not right away, but she's up there on the hill with Gendry, and then there's 2 people watching her.
Yep, Beardless Dick and Mudge.
And then the rest of the gang is attacking the Sept, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is hold up by you already said it, by the Brave Companions are inside. We find out a little later.
Yep.
But like as far as like nicknames or names go, like Mudge is like, you know, that guy is.
Well, I think it's like a funny point, but I think it's also a really good way of George making it clear that like these guys are not knights and lords. They're just we've already heard it. They're the farmers and the peasants and the field hands. Like we have Lord Barrett Dondarrion, and then we have like Thoros of Myr, and then we have Mudge and Notch and Kyle and Beardless Dick and
Kyle, what a fucking
Miller.
twat.
I'm just saying, if there's no sir or something on the front or end, you're a nobody.
Nels, quick question: the Brown brothers, the 8 guys at the end, are they like Septon-ish people?
Yeah, we've never really heard. About
they're like monks in the monastery, essentially.
Exactly. I don't think we've really heard much about this, but yeah.
So are they like training to be Septons, or are they just
kinda? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the like exact parallel would be like to like Catholic faith, but because like most churches don't have like a band
understudies.
Yeah, like 10
kinda,
understudies. But yeah, that's kind of what I take it as. Is like,
I mean, there's a bunch of priests in the, I don't know what they call it, but they go to college for it type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe in the Middle Ages, like there were more understudies just in like common churches.
Like,
these are probably
religion was more
commoners
prevalent.
that don't have the means to go to what's the Septon place called?
Starry Sept.
Yeah.
But either way, these people might not have the means to get into that class of religion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
these are the guys that aren't there? No, there. I thought there was
I feel
somebody
like
that helped the
religion would be
priest.
the one thing that wouldn't turn you away. Like, yeah, come on, come train.
It's been years, but wasn't the deacon? Doesn't he help the priest in the church?
Yep, deacon helps.
So like these are like the deacons kind of.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. I think there's normally one deacon.
Yeah, I mean, but
Like the guy I go hunting with, the deacon, right? Like he'll like help prepare like some Bible study class stuff, or like decide like what some of like the talking points or like some of the hymns they're gonna sing that day, or like kind of like prep around the church.
I was just wondering, like, if this was like a Septon school, kind of like Old Town was for Macers. Like, they have kind of one centralized location. Through Septons have like
this
random
place didn't
spots to
seem
go
like
to.
that though, right? Like this town seemed like a little small farming village
like a
kind of.
normal
I mean,
village.
they had a little thing going on for sure. Like, you're right though. This was a self-sustained Septon kind
Yeah.
of place.
Another good point is, haven't we heard of like other seps getting like it seems like seps are always the targets of these like ransacks. Maybe these guys are like from another village.
Well, I mean, like look at churches in real time, right? Like there's always gold shit and artifacts
carvings,
and money.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
so,
I
like-
guess my point is, we've heard of this happening already. Maybe these guys are like, shit, my church burned down, my sept burned down. Where am I going to go? Let's go to the next town over.
And none of these guys are seps. And there was actually more than 8. Weren't there like 40 of them?
Uh,
not
I think
12
there's
or
like a bunch of
something?
people
a
in
lot
the
of
town.
them have been killed, right? They were.
That's
they
what
were
I'm saying. I think there
tortured
were a
down.
dozen or
They were
something.
tortured
Yeah.
down to 8. The one guy says, like, I finally gave in and told him where our gold was.
So we'll get there. I'm sure I'll have some of it in my notes. But
Yeah.
to cover the action, we don't have to go too in depth. But we got archers popping off, killing people.
Archers are popping off. They're climbing out windows, getting shot.
they're climbing out windows because they set the sept on fire.
Yeah, fire arrows. Yeah.
That's the OP move, is sending some fire aims through a window. You won. You basically won the fight at that moment.
I
It's
mean,
like they should have barred the doors and lit it on fire. Like they let them run out and they're ready when they run out. Like they basically plan on them to run out and they all shoot them with arrows when they do, for the most part.
barring the doors is some evil
Yeah,
shit,
and
Nelson.
you're
There's
letting
some
them die
innocent people
slowly.
in there too.
But like then you're risking. Is it like is it it's
Kyle
evil.
wouldn't have died.
Yeah, it's evil, but Kyle wouldn't have died.
But those 8 innocent dudes that we were just talking about would have been dead.
Yeah,
they would have been cooked
that's a
alive.
good point. They would have died if they knew there was hostages. Yeah, you can't do that.
Long story short, fire needs to get nerfed in the Game of Thrones update. I mean, it's just...
That's just real life.
Just real
first
life.
off.
Fire's OP in real life. Yeah.
But I don't think so. Like, I mean, it is and it isn't, I guess. It's.
Yeah, if they had a bucket of water there, put it on out.
Yeah.
But, all right, so, yeah, they're popping off. People start climbing out of windows and doors, and there's a little bit of a charge back, and that's where Kyle gets a spear through the belly.
Well, before that, though, we get a quote from, not a quote from Arya, but she's like, damn, I need to learn how to shoot, right? Like,
Yeah.
she's like, that is actually a really useful skill.
Yep.
Like, and you're right, Jeff, but I didn't want to, I felt like that might be a kind of a character thing for her.
It's a good point for sure. I don't have any notes, so, like, any details that I skip, like, let's definitely hit on them.
But yeah, she's like, I like swords, but like, that's like, they're lighting these dudes up and they're not even close. Like,
Yeah, and Arya, the thing is, like, she's been with the mummers. Like, when she was at Harrenhal, she was with them for a while. So she's also, like, in her head, like, yeah, fuck all these guys. Like, get them all.
shoot
Kill all
them
these
motherfuckers.
guys.
True, yeah.
I hate these fuckers.
she knows the stories.
She knows Ut, personally. She knows Septon Ut herself. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember
he's been
Septon Ut from...
He's been in a few Arya chapters. He's like a creep who likes
I
to diddle
vaguely
boys.
do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Was
pretty
he
much what we learned
diddling the
here.
boys, or is he just killing the boys?
I think it was a lot of both.
Yeah,
I think it escalated over time, and then that's why he's like, I didn't mean to kill him, but it was like all
he's a
sex
real
games,
rat.
right? Like, yeah.
But it almost sounded like he was taking boys to like experiment on, which maybe he was, but like doing like oh, let me take your blood and try a poison on you or something like that.
Dahmer is trying to make sex bots, so he was like taking dudes and lobotomizing them.
Right. Shoosh. I remember that's probably about a year ago I watched that documentary, or coming up on a year when the
documentary or like the
dramatization.
There's a show.
Yeah, where the actor plays him. He did it. I mean,
it's
talk
pretty
about
good. Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, it's like
creepy as hell. Yeah. All right. What's next in the fight?
So yeah, the mummers are all starting to come out, right?
Yep.
Like they start pouring out, start making a little bit of dent in Barracks dudes, the good. What are they? The brave, not brave.
The bloody
fellows,
mummers.
No, the good dudes.
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood. Our friends. I say they're good dudes.
The Knights of the
I mean,
Hollow Hill.
Yeah.
The Outlaws. Arya calls them the Outlaws a lot.
They're definitely the good dudes in this.
They kind of call
right?
themselves an outlaw as well.
We'll get to some of it later, but like I said this before, Beric is literally just a crazy guy running around knighting anybody. He knighted Gendry. Gendry has zero combat experience. Zero.
Well, so I wanted to say that before when you were saying that Mudge and Jackby whatever aren't knights. I was going to say they are though.
Yeah, but like not
right.
No one's respecting this knighthood.
Yeah,
when he died already too, right? Like so you can't. This is life number 6 or 7 for him. Like
exactly.
You can't be counting these knights anymore for his this cheating.
It's just less reliable every time.
Yep.
So yeah, Kyle dies. The battle doesn't last long.
One cool thing about Anguy, Archer, he's got 2 different arrowheads. I don't remember ever hearing about a bodkin. It's just like a hollow head point. It's just going through everything.
I think it's more pointy.
It's more full metal jacketed.
Way more pointy.
Yeah.
Because a broadhead is like broad on purpose to like rip you up as it goes through.
Yeah,
but I think a pointy one.
If you knew you were going to be shooting at people, why wouldn't you have just laced up in bodkins?
Because they don't do as much damage, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
No, it's not an I guess. That's
But if a guy's armored up and you need that, like
it's going to do more damage against armor,
and that one's going through it.
But if the guy's not armored up, a lot of these dudes aren't armored up.
Like you should see broadheads that they make for like hunting.
They don't
look like a normal. They don't look like that. They're like huge. They're like 3D. They have like
and like barbed. It's like 4 different deals. Yeah.
And when an arrow comes, it spins, and that shit just it just like fucks you up.
Shreds.
I understand the purpose of it.
Then it just goes straight through.
I understand the purpose of it, but if you're shooting at people that are like, does he have 2 quivers? Is he like flipping back and forth? Like, oh, I need a bodkin now. Here comes an armored guy.
Hawkeye quiver.
Yeah, it's probably a separated quiver. He probably has two pockets in there. It's like a golf bag, Jeff.
Yeah, sometimes you got to pull out your iron. Sometimes you need
so
the
exactly. You want to have a little bit of situation.
Also, like Robin Hood and all that shit, they always have the quiver on the back. Quiver on the hip, I feel like on the back looks way cooler. On the hip is way more practical.
You need to be able to quick reload. I agree with you. I think hip the string.
Way easier.
Like
disclaimer: none of us are Archer.
How many people like don't even have that flexibility? Like Nelson barely has the flexibility to grab an arrow from his back.
Yeah, some people might not. I mean, I guess they're sticking out pretty high, but yeah,
we could have such big ass shoulders. You can't get back there
so much right now. Let's go.
All right, well, let's get through the end of the fight.
Thoros and Beric, they got flaming swords. Arya sees Ned down there, the squire we saw last chapter. He's fighting. That pisses her off because he's like her age or younger. So like she's like, why is he?
Yeah, I mean, we know by now she wants to be in all the action.
Yep. And yeah, pretty soon they were all dead or captured.
Yeah, they had a whole 2nd battalion ready.
Yeah, they let some of them get away though.
It's just like 2 though, right?
Yeah, but the reason was to go.
They did that on purpose.
Let them know. Go tell your friends.
I feel like we've seen that before too, where it's like, yeah, that kind of helps spread the word. Exactly. It's a little bit of terroristic tactic. Did the Dothraki do it? I feel like somebody did it before.
I'm not sure. I'm sure it's probably happened. I don't know if it was necessarily on purpose, but yeah. And who they specifically want them to tell is Lord Leech and the Goat, who nicknames, but we know Roose.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
Vargo.
It's Bolton, and yeah.
I bet you there's a lot of people though who on a first read like don't. One of those they don't understand. You think? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't give people enough credit.
I think those might be easier ones.
I kind of
they're a little more straightforward,
more important people. Yeah.
I mean, and we know Arya, Arya's been super connected to her, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. All right. So before the deal crashed and burned, they did find the 8 Brown brothers hiding somewhere.
Yep. We were wondering about the number earlier, so that's what I have that in my notes too. 8 of them. So yeah.
We weren't wondering about it. I was saying there was more at one point, and they were killing them.
Gotcha.
And I was wondering about the total number.
And Septon they kept, right? So there's a handful of the Bloody Mummers that gave up, right? They surrendered and they kept them, yeah.
Yep.
Including they were kept for
hanging.
Judgment.
Trial and hanging, yeah.
Trial. It's kind of like Scarecrow and The Dark Knight Rises, like guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's funny because Gendry later's like, at least you guys give him a trial. I like that. But it really sounds like this trial here is the Mummers are bad. Like the same thing they try to do to the Hound. They're like, the Mummers are bad guys. you're all guilty of each other's crimes. Therefore, hang them all. Like,
it's
what if one of those guys didn't
Yeah.
do anything? I doubt it.
Well, no,
but,
no, we even see that here, right? Like,
The one guy says
you
it,
kind of feel bad for that guy, right? He's like,
The
I'm a
one guy said,
soldier. I'm a soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He's like, I'm just following orders. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, meanwhile, Septonut's taking all these little boys, and this guy's just trying to be a soldier with a group, and just guilty by association.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just here for the money. Yeah, exactly.
So it's again, it's one of those things where like we say Barrick's a good guy.
Yeah.
We say Barrick's a good guy. I like Barrick. I'm 100% on that team. But when you like look at it like on paper, they're 100% outlaws. They're just going around
Does
like
some fucked up stuff. Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny how Gendry's like, oh, they gave him a trial. The other people just hung him. Like, is it really that different?
Well, I guess if you look at the Hound's trial, it's a little bit different.
The
Hound won and got off, but like these guys, like, why wouldn't they all get like, if they're doing it all the same way, like they should have each been able to fight Barrick 1-on-1.
You're right, because pretty much the Hound just talked his way out of that. He was like, I'm not guilty of those people's crimes. Like, why did the soldier not get a 1-on-1? Like, you should have probably, right? Yeah. Barrick would be dead 40 times then.
Yeah. But so they start hanging him on the tree, and we kind of learn what happened to the Brown brothers, Nelson. This is where the one guy kind of tells how these guys came in and started, torturing them basically to find the gold that they had hidden somewhere.
Yep.
How did the 8 of you survive? Before the war, we were 44, and this was a prosperous place. We had a dozen milk cows and a bull, 100 beehives, a vineyard, and an apple arbor. But when the lions came through, they took all our wine, milk, and honey, slaughtered the cows, and put our vineyard to the torch. After that, I have lost count of our visitors. This false septon was only the latest. There was one monster. We gave him all our silver. But he was certain we were hiding gold, so his men killed us one by one to make elder brother talk. How did the 8 of you survive? Asked Engai the archer. I am ashamed, the old man said. It was me. When it came my turn to die, I told them where our gold was hidden. Brother, said Thorismir, the only shame was not telling them at once. So this place was popping back in the day.
Yeah, it's that even makes it sound even more like a school of sorts, but
or just like a place of worship that you could bring like offerings almost.
I think it's more of a monastery almost, right? Like where it's like a whole bunch of these dudes all living in this building.
Yeah.
All practicing the same religion pretty heavily. And then they're also doing chores that help the good, right?
This is the one part about war where it's like, why did the Lions have to kill all their shit? Like, take it over and use it as your now resource. Like, use it.
You don't have time for that shit if you're in the middle of a war. You don't have time to deal with a fucking monastery.
Well, also the part
you don't really have to deal with it. Just be like, hey, you're with us now. Like next time we're through, we're staying here, type of thing.
Well, the point was right. Edmure had called all the banners to Riverrun, and Tywin's plan was, I'm just gonna fuck up all these little houses, and what are you gonna do? Let them burn? Exactly. So like that was kind of his order. He said like, go fuck it up. I don't care about it. I get your point, and I think normally you'd be right, but here, like the whole
I don't
whole
think
point
so. I don't think you have
out.
time for that.
I mean,
you
but
can't trust that these dudes behind you now are going to be on your side and not doing other shit against you, right?
But to Jeff's point, there's valuable resources. When Robb went to the west, weren't the Mormont girls like herding like tons of cattle back to Riverrun because all the food had died? Like Robb's stealing supplies from, like taking all the cows and horses. It seems like the Lions just show up, kill it all, and move on. Like there's supplies to be had when you conquer a foe. Is my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying like you immediately move in and take up everything, but
either way. All right, so they kind of set up shop in the stables then, or like this bar place.
I thought it was in like an inn. Yeah, an old
the inn.
Bar. And they eat, and then they want some shut eye, right? Or they're just kind of laying around.
I don't know if
they're hanging out.
Yeah, sleeping. I think it's mostly they're just like hanging out. Yeah, so they're just talking to the Brown brothers. So also, I think first Arya thinks like these guys never asked us who we were, but she's like, it's probably because they don't need to. They know who we are. Barrick. Everyone knows Barrick's died 10 times, and look at the guy, and he's got a sigil on his breastplate.
He's got a fucking dent in his head, and his sigil's on his chest breastplate.
Yeah, he's kind of like Tyrion, right? Like you know who he is.
Yeah, there's no photo ID, but like you can pretty easily spot the Mountain, the Hound, Tyrion, and now Barrick. Yeah, they stick out. But they're talking, so they're eating, I think, and they're talking to the brothers, and the brothers say something like, "Oh, you better not." Thoros says like grace to the light, to the Lord of Light, or something like that. And
they're like, "Hey, why are you praying to that false god?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then they get in a little bit of a scuffle, but even Thoros is like, nah, we'll be good if we just stay quiet. Like he knows the place here, right? Like he's like, I understand I can't step on these guys' toes, but we're still all for the Lord of Light.
Yeah, Thoros is like, this is their house. Plus, missing a prayer is not going to do nothing I would know. Which again is like we heard he was just like a drunk buddy with Robert. For years he didn't give a fuck about the religion. He was just like going through the motions. So he's like, we'll be fine. But I think interesting here, Lem is the one that says, "Shut up. Your smith can fix a broken sword, but can he fix a broken man?" And then later,
Lem was pretty hasty to them in general. Like I feel like he was hasty to the Hound.
I feel like he's just hasty. Cat. Yeah, Lem's just a little hasty. But the point of me bringing up that there is Lem later is the one who, like, seems to not actually believe that Beric is dying. Like he's like just getting really badly wounded, and Thoros is healing him because Thoros is a really good healer.
Yeah.
So I just think it's weird that here he's even acknowledging like the god has some role in how Thoros is healing, but like I don't know. It's weird that like Lem's blinding himself to it, right?
But he does say heal a broken man. He doesn't say
bring back
revive
a dead
man.
Yeah. Exactly. So I just I thought that was interesting.
I like how Thoros is like, look, I didn't really do shit.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna get into.
Really
that. I like. There's a quote there that we're gonna read. So we'll get to that in a second. Arya mentions that Beric's not eating. She'd never seen him eat.
But he might have a glass of wine every now and again.
Yeah. He doesn't really sleep either. He would close his eyes for like long periods of time, but like not really sleeping.
His eye.
That's right. His other eye was always closed. Yeah.
Or open.
What's that like? People I'm thinking of like ghosts, right? Like you always hear like ghosts are hungry but they don't eat type of thing, right? I'm just thinking of like movies.
Like Casper. I'm just thinking of Casper, and he's always eating, but it just falls right through.
You know what I'm thinking of, Nelson? Is Pirates of the Caribbean 1, the Black Pearl, with the skeleton dead people. They're like, I'm so hungry, but nothing satisfies me. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Welcome to Ghost Stories, Miss Swan. You're in one.
Yeah, and he sleeps in his armor too. Like, dude's weird, right? Is pretty much what she's saying here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. There's some weird shit about Beric. Like, we knew there was weird shit about Beric just like from hearing him. Then last chapter we saw him for the first time, and like, okay, everything was confirmed. Now Arya spent some time with him, and like, the dude is
gets weirder.
It's not just like for show. The dude is just like through and through fucked up.
Yeah, like the not eating thing. I mean, it's like he's like almost like zombie-ish, right? Like, where he doesn't.
And this quote, the quote we're gonna read is like one of my favorite quotes. I don't know why. Like, I just really like Beric's like take on his experience after this.
Do I frighten you, child?
So is this where Lem does his thing?
No, this is a grievous wound died, but Thoros healed it. That one.
She stared at him, remembering the stories told to him at Harrenhal. He seemed to sense and look over and calls her closer. Yeah, so she says she was confused because she thought the Hound killed him, and Lem speaks up. And he's like, it was a bad wound. And Thoros is just a really good healer. And Beric gazed at Lem with a queer look in his eye and no look at all in the other. Only scars and dried blood. No better healer, he agreed wearily. And then he's like, okay, Lem, get out of here. Take a walk. Go check on the watch. And when he's gone...
Go switch people out there.
Beric gives this little speech.
Even brave men blind themselves sometimes when they're afraid to see. Thoros, how many times have you brought me back now?
The Red Priest bowed his head.
It's law who brings you back, my lord. The Lord of Light. I'm only his instrument.
How many times?
Lord Beric insisted.
6.
Thoros said reluctantly.
And each time is harder than the last. You've grown reckless, my lord. Is death so very sweet?
Sweet? No, my friend. Not sweet.
Then do not court it so. Lord Tywin leads from the rear. Lord Stannis as well. You would be wise to do the same. A 7th death might mean the end of both of us.
Lord Beric touched the spot above his left ear where his temple was caved in.
Here is where Sir Burton Craycall broke helm and head with the blow of his mace.
He unwound his scarf, exposing the black bruise that encircled his neck.
Here the mark the Manticore made at Rushing Falls. He seized a poor beekeeper and his wife, thinking they were mine, and let it be known far and wide that he would hang them both unless I gave myself up to him. When I did, he hanged them anyway, and me on the gibbet between them.
He lifted a finger to the raw red pit of his eye.
Here is where the mountain thrust his dirk through my visor.
A weary smile brushed his lips.
That's thrice I have died at the hands of House Clegane. You would think I might have learned.
It was a jest, Arya knew, but Thoros did not laugh. He put a hand on Lord Beric's shoulder.
Best not to dwell on it.
Can I dwell on what I scarce remember? I held a castle on the marches once, and there was a woman I was pledged to marry, but I could not find that castle today, nor tell you the color of that woman's hair. Who knighted me, old friend? What were my favorite foods? It all fades. Sometimes I think I was born on the bloody grass in that grove of ash, with a taste of fire in my mouth and a hole in my chest. Are you my mother, Thoros?
Arya stared at the Irish priest, all shaggy hair and pink rags and bits of old armor. Gray stubble covered his cheeks and the sagging skin beneath his chin. He did not look much like the wizards in old Nan's stories, but even so. Could you bring back a man without a head? Arya asked. Just the once, not 6 times, could you?
I have no magic, child, only prayers. The first time his lordship had a hole right through him and blood in his mouth, I knew there was no hope. So when his poor torn chest stopped moving, I gave him the good God's own kiss to send him on his way. I filled my mouth with fire and breathed the flames inside him, down his throat, to lungs and heart and soul. The last kiss it is called, and many a time I saw the old priest bestow it on the Lord's servant as they died. I had given it a time or two myself, as all priests must, but never before had I felt a dead man shudder as the fire filled him, nor seen his eyes come open. It was not me who raised him, my lady. It was the Lord, R'hllor. R'hllor is not done with him yet. Life is warmth, and warmth is fire, and fire is God's, and God's alone.
Arya felt tears well in her eyes. Thoros used a lot of words, but all they meant was no. That much she understood.
Yep.
Trying to bring back Daddy.
Yep. I think it's interesting, all the stuff Beric says, like, it goes along a lot with, like, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat, he couldn't get home if he had to get home.
He's like a zombie.
He doesn't remember shit.
He's a little bit smarter, Drogo.
After Mir Mazdor fixes air quotes him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like him, but it went right. Pretty much.
I also think it's funny, there's a little bit of Arya having like the Sansa effect here when she's looking at Thoros, who's just like this old dude in like ratty robes, and she's like, this is not like blue pointy hat staff carrying wizards that old Nan told me about. This guy was basically a drunk. Doesn't look like a wizard to me. And then
I think
Thoros
it's a little bit different too, because Thoros isn't like also. We've seen some like people claim to be something. You know, Melisandre, Red Priestess, is definitely running around more so like I have the power of R'hllor, and Thoros just like, look, I just prayed over him.
I got super lucky.
I don't know. I'm not trying to be this guy type of thing.
So, I mean,
I did what I do 1,000 times, like what any Red Priest would do for anybody. I just gave him a kiss when he died, and
so like I don't think we've heard this before. It was an accident, pretty much. Like
it was completely unexpected, for sure.
The weird line, I think, and it's that the next death might be the last for both of us.
Well, it seems to be almost like with what we're seeing with the Melisandre is like she needs something to feed it. She's using royal blood or whatever, right? Like it sounded like, and some of this is speculation still for me. I'm just reminding you guys, I guess, that like to not spoil, because I know some of that.
You're saying,
but it seems
she's like taken from Stannis. Beric might be taken from Thoros.
Well, that too, yeah, exactly. So I think there's some of that happening for sure. There's some life pool sharing.
That's interesting because he does have white hair, but I guess I never thought about like.
But he's kind of an old cat. Did he not have white hair
before?
Isn't he kind of an old cat?
That's what I'm saying. Like I never really thought about it. I didn't think anything of it. But that's
I wasn't saying just because he had white hair.
I know, but like you would think that's like an effect. Like I think Davo said Stannis is getting a little salt and pepper and stuff like that.
I brought that up not knowing really truly, Kyle. I think it's pretty obvious here that Beric is less of himself with the coming back to life deal. You kind of mentioned that already. Thoros hasn't said that he's less of himself, but it's like, I don't know if it means...
Except for that line.
There's two things. That line's either we're both going to die the next time, or you're going to die and I'm going to lose this power to bring you back type of thing. I don't know.
So what I would say to that, though, Jeff, is like the reason that he's not less of himself is he never died. Like Beric, his brain was shut off and reset, essentially, where Thoros didn't have that experience. But it's it's taking life force from it. Like, I mean, it's real dumb to think of it that way as like a video game where you have a health bar, you know, like, and like his health every time it's like I can transfer a quarter of my health bar to you and it gives you half health or something, right?
I'm
and
with
then
you.
it slowly
I don't think it's stupid considering people are getting brought back to life like Mario Party over here. So
yeah, true. I mean, it did just say he was on this 7th credit here. So yeah.
So so I understand, you're saying that basically what Thoros is doing is he's giving some of his health bar to Barrick to come back. But what's happening to Barrick is different because Barrick's like turning off. Then you get that progress bar of like deleting memories.
For sure, yeah, he's dead. He's off the screen.
Yeah, he comes back up before the progress bar gets to 100%. But yeah, we lost something there.
He'd
Every
start
time
to
we
continue.
Lost, okay, yeah, I see that.
But no, and I don't mean so much as like a direct like he's giving health to him, but it's like whatever the process is taking something out of him, and in the end it instills something in him.
I like the video game analogies.
All right, well, good. Sometimes I say some things that you like.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. All right. So is the last part. The Hound knocks on the door.
The last parts of the quote that I want to go back on. Thoros talks about like this like magic last kiss thing. Again, we've never heard of this. Did we know that this is how he brought Barrick back, even in the last Arya chapter? Like, we saw him bring Barrick back. Did we see any kiss, like, CPR type?
No.
He just kind of laid over him, right? Or bent over him.
Well, I thought he, like, took him all into one of those, like, side dark hallways, and, like, they disappeared, and we didn't really know what happened.
Exactly. It was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be, like, a surprise, like, ooh, Barrick's back, so we weren't supposed to see exactly. But, yeah, so I think that's cool, too. And when he says, like, he fills his mouth with fire, like, for some reason, I just picture like fire breathers who are just like taking like a shot of like
put a little shot of gasoline or whatever.
I was gonna say I think that's like kerosene or something, not rum.
Well, whatever, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but I
might be gasoline.
I doubt he's breathing kerosene into Barrick. So I'm curious to like what he's actually doing here. Does he have like a special pouch of like powder that he puts in his mouth? Yeah, I don't know.
Is it just hot air? I don't know.
I mean, I think of it like, you know, like a dragon. They usually draw their breath and you can like see the fire building in their mouth kind of thing. It's like some gland, I think, is the idea behind it.
Has a gland.
This is, and I'm just talking, I'm not Game of Thrones dragons. It's just like some dragon lore, right? So I think it's kind of maybe like that, where like he prays and you draw in maybe not actual fire, but metaphorical fire. And then now this time it's actual fire, right? Like this time, that's why it's so scary. Kind of, it's like something actually is coming out of him in a sense.
The spirit of R'hllor.
Exactly.
And along the dragon lines, that last line, Thoros says, "Life is warmth, and warmth is fire, and fire is gods, and gods alone." For some reason, I'm just thinking dragons that whole time, because dragons are the fire kings.
Well, aren't we trying to raise a dragon too?
Not these guys, but
wake it. I know.
Similar religion. Yeah. So the last part of that quote is Arya asking about Daddy, like Jeff finished off with, and that's what they go into.
Daddy's gone.
And Barrick's like, I didn't really know him that well, but Harwin talks about him a lot. Everything I've heard, a really good guy. I would forgo your ransom, but we need money. Like, we got nothing. We need.
Sorry, gal.
And Arya actually thinks like, yeah, you guys are traveling pretty raggy. Like, you do need the money.
You guys ain't got shit.
And she seems kind of empathetic to them, right? Like, I don't think she hates these people.
I think she definitely likes them most since like Yoren as traveling partners. Like, she kind of can respect what they're doing, but it's just like.
Well, also, it's not like they stole from the Hound and went out and bought better horses and better swords. They gave it to Greenbeard and the Huntsman to go buy food, like for not even for them, for just for the peasants of the realm. Like, they don't. That's the thing, is like they're stealing. They're kind of like Robin Hoods, right? Because they're stealing. But they're not riding around on fancy horses with like fancy armor. They're in shit. They're literally just giving it all back to the people immediately. So I think that helps their cause too, right? It's harder to be on the side of a thief when the thief is like clearly just taking all the money for themselves. So I think that's why Arya's empathetic. But for
self-enrichment,
Oh, fuck.
Nap time?
Question
nap
for
time.
Jeff. They're taking, before we see the map, Greenbeard and the Huntsman took all the gold to go get food south of the Mander. What's that mean?
The only context clues I can think of is the Manderleys at White Harbor. Are they going to? They're going south of White Harbor.
That's a really good guess.
Is there a mountain called the Mander nearby?
And this is a great segue for me to do a little history time. The Manderley family actually used to be down in the Reach near Highgarden.
There we go.
And they were named Manderleys because they were on the Mander River. But then they moved up north, and they kept their name, but now they live in a different spot. But the Mander River is in the Reach. which makes sense because Arya is somewhere probably in this black area because we don't know where the hell they are. They're a couple days outside of Stony Sept. And High Garden, the Reach area, is down where the burning hasn't happened. They still have food. So that's where Greenbeard and the Huntsman went. Makes sense.
Where's White Harbor?
White Harbor's way north.
Way up there, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the north.
Which that would have been too far to go get food anyway, but I was just using context clues.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really good guess because that it makes sense.
Wait, why are the Manderleys in White Harbor now?
I don't know that.
Who lives in High Garden? Now I'm really confused.
Well, no, they didn't live
High
in High Garden.
Is the where the Tyrells are.
The Manderleys used to live along the Mander River way long ago.
Okay.
And they moved up to
Gotcha.
north in ancient history.
Ago.
I don't even know if we know why.
You were just using High Garden as a reference. I got you. We're good.
River.
Well, I think it's also like just a cool thing that George does. Like, why? Why put in a house that moved across the country and is named after a river in the south?
Because it's going to be in a book.
Maybe
He's so fucking.
maybe it'll be
He's so
important.
sick, man.
It's going to be really important in the 10th book.
Maybe it'll be important.
He's so. I can't believe he's the only one that would write a book like this.
There we go. That's all we need. That's all we need to
All
for.
right. Let's get to the part.
That was cool history.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
take
cool.
it.
No, they start laying down, and your boy sings a bunch of songs. Let it rip.
I guess it was raining. Is really the gist of what I got here.
Yeah, it's starting to rain bad.
Can't have fun outside because it's raining.
Real quick before that, Arya thinks, what if Rob doesn't pay for me? And I'll skim over this quick. She's like, what if Rob won't pay for me?
He'll pay.
Cat, like, I'm dirty, I killed people. Rob probably wouldn't care about that, but Cat would. She always wanted me to be like Sansa.
To be like Sansa.
Which made me think, like, they're really lucky the roles aren't reversed, right? Sansa would be hating this.
Yeah.
Like, Arya is, like, kind of okay with most of this. Like, it's making her a better person, it seems like, but...
Arya's a better person. Arya's literally a double murderer.
Well, maybe not better person, a better at surviving in this world. Yeah, like, I guess is more what I mean. But like,
I think it's interesting because they've both gone through hell. They've been through horrible situations.
But it was like a fitting hell.
Arya wouldn't have survived what Sansa's gone through either, though.
That's what I'm saying.
She doesn't have the temperament to do what Sansa did, and Sansa probably doesn't have the mental toughness to do what Arya did.
Not a shot, yeah. So I think that's a good point and really interesting, yeah.
It was something I thought of when I read it.
So she's also thinking, like, Septim Ordain says, I had the hands of a blacksmith. I'm just horrible. I ruined Lady Smallwood's dress.
Those soft little things.
And she's like, well, what happened? Yeah, Gendry's like, you don't have blacksmith. I'm a fucking
You couldn't even hold a hammer.
Yeah. And
how about Gendry just eavesdropping on the whole convo? Like, bitch, this was an A and B conversation. Get your ass over there to your mushroom stew.
So we're not going line by line through my notes, so we might not hit it. But there's also a part in this. I don't know if you guys caught it. Harwin, I don't think we're there yet. Harwin's like, I'm gonna go check on something, and he leaves. And then like 2 seconds later, he's in the conversation. And then like 2 paragraphs later, it says like Harwin comes back in. It's like, what the fuck? Like, okay,
there's
maybe
2 Harwins.
If it didn't say Harwin came back in, then okay, maybe he just came back in and it wasn't mentioned. But it literally tells you when he leaves and comes back, and he's talking in between them.
All right, we'll have to see.
I'll try to keep an eye out for it. That is on the list of things on the wiki for George known errors, and like, yeah, this is a fuck up by me. My bad. So, what happens if Rob doesn't pay for Arya?
They kill her.
They send her back to Lady Smallwood, which wouldn't be that bad. Like, if that's where the book goes, I'm cool with it. Lady Smallwood was chill. She was kind of like funny.
That the acorn lady?
Yeah, whose like daughter was gone, so like she like kind of was treating Arya as her daughter, and like kind of realized that Arya was more of a tomboy after she fucked up her dress, and was like, "Oh, you're fucked, but have good luck."
Or to his house.
And then she's
That's
like,
what he said.
yeah, and then she's like, Arya says to Beric, like, you better promise to take me home, and like actually promise. I've had a bunch of other people promise, and they kept dying, like Yoren, and he's like, on my honor as a knight. And then like you guys said, rainy. Now there's a bunch of rain songs. The Mother's Tears, When Willem's Wife Was Wet, and Lord Hart Rode Out on a Rainy Day. And then the last one, The Rains of Castamere. And who are you, the proud Lord said, that I must bow so low? Only a cat of a different coat, that's all the truth I know. In a coat of gold or a coat of red, a lion still has claws. And mine are long and sharp, my lord, as long and sharp as yours. And so he spoke, that Lord of Castamere. But now the rain's weeper is hall, with no one there to hear. Yes, now the raid's weeper is hall, with not a soul to hear.
Good job. Great job. Claps all around. You should have played your guitar with it, Nels. You should have played
Play a
your
little
guitar
ding
with
ding ding ding. You guys never let me do that.
So pretty much, it sounds like he killed the Lord of Castamere, right? Isn't that the idea behind the song?
Haven't you heard? You've heard about the Reigns of Castamere, haven't you?
Oh yeah, you're right.
We've
Isn't that
heard
the
of it
ones that
once.
fucked with Tywin? And he made an
Castamere,
example of them.
House Rain. Yeah, so this is a play on words because House Rain spelled not like this, spelled differently. There's a Y in it, of course. Okay. But yeah, they lived in House Castamere, and yeah, they were one of the houses that them and the Tarbecks, House Rains and House Tarbeck, fuck with Tywin and got fucked up for it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so this guy named Merritt's like, damn, my horse's shoe fell off. What am I gonna do? And Gendry's like, hey, I can shoe that horse for you. And guess what? I could fix your mail too. And guess what? I even made a helmet once. I could probably make you a sword.
Gendry's like the guy from The Notebook.
I could fix that. that's Holes, by the way.
Oh, that's Holes. What's the guy in The Notebook saying when he's like building the house? Is there not a catchphrase? Holes.
He doesn't say anything.
Whatever. Holes.
But Holes is like,
it's hilarious that completely different movie, and you still knew exactly what I was talking about.
The window doesn't open really well. I could fix that.
And it is the love story part of Holes.
I could fix that.
Yeah.
I think his name's
Sorry.
Ben. You never seen Holes?
It's hilarious.
I feel like I read Holes, but I don't.
Well, you definitely should have read. I would hope that I Could Fix That was in the book too. It's been a while. All right, and Gendry's basically like, look, I don't want to go shoe for Rob. Like, I like what you guys are doing here. I don't need anything really. Let me just hang out with you guys and join you and Smith.
Yep.
And they kind of go back and forth, and the guys kind of convinced Beric to take him on. Like, yeah, come on, let's take him on. We could use him.
Well, Jack is really the only one. Lem's like, are you stupid? Like, you're an outlaw. You're going to end up on your head on the end of a spike or hanging from a tree like the rest of us.
Yeah, this is a horrible life, dude. You're a kid. You can avoid this, right? Like,
and to your point, Jeff, Jack Be Lucky is like, yeah, we need him. We can take all the help we got. Take him on. And Harwin's like, yeah, before he comes to his senses or something like this. This is probably where Harwin. Let me see. Is this where Harwin's talking when he's not in the room?
He didn't leave yet. I've been trying to look, but I didn't think so.
All right, Gendry gets knighted, right?
He's like, I liked what you guys said. He's like about being for the small people.
For Rob, yeah.
This is where you said Bolton just hung people or took their head, and Tywin and Armory were the same. I'd rather be here.
It's not like the songs, no stealing kisses, no mystery night bullshit. Like, yeah, it's bad shit. And then, yeah, he gets knighted.
And the Hound's laughing his arse off.
Yeah, and then the Hound's
Arya's pissed because she's like, man, somebody else is leaving me, right? Like, she's like, everybody I know is gone.
Yes.
No one hangs out with me forever.
I think almost everything the Hound says here is just hilarious. He's like, he's right. The Hound is in the right here. Beric is literally just knighting anybody who fucking shows up. He's been with Gendry's like his captain for like a week, and he's like,
well, I think that's the problem with it. Like, you're not actually knighting them. You're just like letting them be in your group. Like, put a pin on them or something. Like,
I feel like it would be super easy to betray, to like just send like a spy in. Like, the Mountain should just send a spy in. Be like,
you just hang out long enough, you can get knighted.
And then, you give me some food, I'll be with you. Cool, knighted. And then just, I guess what happens once you kill Beric, though? Thoros just brings him back. Like, where does that plan go? But
the other side of that, like, so what I was going to say to Jeff about put a pin in him, like, kind of is, right? Like, the only people that are going to recognize this knighthood is this group. So, like, it's like you're the Knights of the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
like,
they're not
just going around calling each other Sir either, right? It's not like Sir Mudge and shit like that.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That's true.
So
they're not being pompous about it, at least. Yeah.
It is kind of just the ritual to join, right? Like, kind of thing.
Yep.
But anyway, next thing you know, boom, Hound in the door, right? It's pretty much.
Hound's in the door. He's like, yo, give me my money back. This is bullshit. How did you find us? Oh, well, you guys just put the whole goddamn sept on fire.
Making more nights, Don Darius. That's quite the action.
Making more nights. And he's like, what happened to the guards? He's like, oh, those two blind men. Maybe I killed them. What are you going to do about it? It's just...
No fucks given.
I love that, dude. He just comes in. He's like Jamie. Like, he's not in a position to be talking like this. He just does it anyway. Like, he doesn't give a shit, which, like, people do nowadays. But I get that because, like, nowadays, if, like, someone hits you, you just call the cops on them and they, like, get arrested. But in these days, like, they could just kill him and, like, no one.
Well, that's the crazy part
about
the Hound coming back here is, like, they literally could have just, like, all right, we saw you again, like, fuck you this time. But, like, Barrack has a little bit of, like, well, it all comes back to, like, the reason that he gets brought back to life is that the god, Lord, needs me more. The gods let him live. He needs to still be alive.
There's a reason, right?
Yeah. Yep. The Lord of Light has something to do with the Hound. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, and not only that, Nelson, everybody literally has their gun drawn on him too. Like as soon as he comes through the door, like arrows are coming out. Everybody is pointed at him. Like he is, losing. Like he's like somebody's like, how about I add some feathers to him or something like that, which pretty much like stick him with arrows and like.
They're like, you got to be drunk to come here. Like, what? Drunk on rain? You took all my fucking money. What am I supposed to be drunk on?
But they don't have anything to give him, so he ends up just leaving.
Yeah, they're like, we gave you a note. They're like, they literally like gave him an IOU.
Yeah, back to this IOU bullshit.
We'll give you your money back when the war's over. Yeah, we just need it right now.
He's like, I wiped my ass with that paper. I want gold. At one point, he's like, why don't you knight my horse? He doesn't shit on in the hall. He's better than most. Doesn't kick more than most. Like he's just fucking with him the whole time.
I don't have much else. Hound ends up leaving. They check on the people. Arya
threatened him even. She's like, man, if I had my dagger, I would have killed your ass back then.
Well, you fucking should have, Dad.
Yeah, and he's like, well, fucking yell at Lem. Like, I didn't do that.
At one point, he's like, make her a knight. First 8-year-old girl
night. I'm 12. Such a 12-year-old answer, too. Just correct the age.
Yeah. Well, she's not 12. She's 10, so she bumped it up. It's like when you're putting your height in on the height and weight in.
I'm 6 foot.
Give yourself 2 inches and 20 pounds, obviously.
Yeah, I never really
maybe lineman give yourself 20 pounds. Maybe you guys skill position give yourself 5 or 10.
Yeah.
So the Hound, he calls them thieves. Lem yells at him. He's like, "Man, you're all the Lannisters do the same shit, and so does Robb. Like
they call it foraging.
They're just calling it's foraging. Yeah, exactly. But when we do it, it's stealing. Like we're not doing anything different than anybody else.
Just consider yourself good and foraged."
And that's when he kind of looks at him. Yeah, he looks at him and he's like, well, fuck, I guess you're right. I can't get money back. Or like, not fuck, you're right, but fuck, this isn't going anywhere.
Well, somewhere in there they explain like we literally don't have it. We gave it to Greenbeard to go by peasant. And the Hound, when he hears that, he's like, oh, perfect. That's exactly what I was going to spend it on. Buy food for a bunch of poxy whelps or something like that. Again, just like everything that comes out of his mouth is cracking me up in this chapter.
The Hound's good. He's a motherfucker.
Perfect. Sure. That's what I was gonna
yeah. So yeah, he pretty much, and he like stares at him before he leaves. Right? He's like, Arya says like he like takes note of each of their faces, which I think is interesting, just because like then a page later, Arya's like, fuck, I'm starting to forget some of the names on my kill list.
Not the names, the faces, what they look like.
Exactly, the faces on my kill list, which makes me think like the Hound is trying to commit these faces to memory for like some sort of Arya type kill list.
Yeah. His own kill list, yeah.
I'll remember what the fuck, or maybe if you just see him in crossing, like, yeah, I'll remember what the fuck you look like.
Yeah.
So he leaves. Harwin, best go see what they did to our sentries. He goes out the door.
Yep. And then they're like, how'd they get that gold? And then Anguy explains, yeah, he won the Hand's Tourney. I know because I won the archery part. Got a good little bit of gold myself, but...
He saw our girl, Arya.
Pissed it all away, did you, Harwin? Said Harwin.
Yeah, Harwin says pissed it all away. Exactly, there you go. Yeah, that's exactly. He was with Dancy, Jade, and Alyaya. We never heard of Jade, but Dancy was the one who had the mix-up hair color from the Tyrion chapter. That's who he told Oberyn to go find for the teat. And Alyaya is the daughter of the Shataya who owns the brothel. Yep. So yeah, Harwin talks when he should be. Maybe he's on the way out or something. I don't know.
He didn't get his rain gear on. He didn't get his rain gear on.
He came back to put a boot on. Yeah, exactly.
It says he made a weird look out the door before he left. So
Yeah, and then later he'll come back. So
Yeah.
and Jack's like, Angai, you should have wifed up one of them girls. Like, kind of saying the same thing they were saying to Gendry. Like, you don't want to be with us. You would have been better off wifing up one of them girls, buying some land, and being good. And he's like, what a waste that would have been to turn my gold to turnips.
Which, I like turnips.
Yeah.
Says the Hound has lost more than a few bags of coin is really the next kind of thing. Thoros gets into how he's lost his master and kennel, like how he's on his own is really where like he's fucked.
Well, they're kind of arguing. They're like, we should have killed him. Like Wadi and them are like, we should kill him. If we don't, he's gonna come kill us.
He has a purpose with the lore.
And Barrack's like, we'll keep a lookout and we'll like feather his horse if we see him.
Bullshit. That's a good ass horse. That's something I don't like. Why did they take his horse?
For sure. Like they took the gold. They say they need horses.
They're complaining about needing horses. The one guy's riding a mule and shit like that.
You're saying steal the horse, like they stole the gold. Why not?
You're like, all right, like yeah, we'll let you live, but we're gonna take your gold and we'll give. Here's your IOU, and we're gonna take your horse too. Here's the second IOU.
Or at least trade horses. Give him a shitty horse and take his horse. But yeah, here's the quote. Like the Lord of Light is not yet done with Joffrey's hound. It would seem. So I know we're going way longer than we thought we would, but posing my prediction to Kyle here, like, what's the Lord of Light want with Beric and in the Hound? Like, is he playing a bigger game? And if he is, like, why are these two cats so important?
I don't know, man. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's more of I don't think anybody knows what's the important, right? I think it's like just like this means that he has unfinished business, and like
the trial by combat thing. I think is potentially a bullshit concept. So I think it's easy to skirt the whole like he doesn't give a fuck about the Lord of Light doesn't care about the Hound. That was just the Hound being a better fighter. But the whole like Lord of Light, something's going on with Beric. You know what I mean? Like if there's a Lord of Light, Thoros doesn't seem to be trying to do. I mean, I don't know. It seems like if there's something going on, somebody has plans for Beric.
Well, Beric seems like he's out here fighting for the good, like right, like he's like one of the few that could potentially still be on Stannis' side.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And Stannis is aligned with somebody of the Lord of Light, so we'll just go with that. I don't want to linger on this too long, but that's like kind of the first connection I made here, right? So we'll go with that.
Interesting thought.
R'hllor is coming back to Stannis.
All the R'hllor groups are going to meet up. Yeah.
They're going to meet up at their convention.
Well, I mean, they all seem to be like fighting for the same thing, kind of, is where I'm at. So,
no one was sleeping well because Sandor was nearby, and Arya,
Arya's playing with her coin
because she's a crazy murderer. When she can't sleep, what she does is pull out the coin of the guy who murdered 3 people for her, and thinks of the list of people she wants to murder herself. Exactly. So that's how she soothes her. No, like count sheep, or
it's just it's counting sheep back in the
day. Counting future victims. Yeah, that's serial killer counting sheep. But yeah, she hits she also, before she gets to the people she wants to kill, she thinks of all the people she's lost along the way. Jaqen left her. Hot Pie left her. Gendry's gonna leave her. Lami died. Syrio died. Yoren died.
Still can't get over Lami dying. It's a tough one.
R.I.P.
Jeff doesn't remember who
her dad is. Her dad died.
Her dad died. He was on there.
This is when she talks about, I'm forgetting these people, fuck, kind of thing. Like, I couldn't pick out some of these random dudes. I need to be better.
Yeah, she remembers Joffrey and Cersei. She'll never forget them two. Obviously, the Hound she just saw. Has she even seen the Mountain since, like, the tournament? Like, I don't even know if she's seen
at Harrenhal. Yeah, he's the one that captured her.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, forgot.
Arya's having the Jeff syndrome. She only remembers the show characters pretty much.
True.
She only remembers the faces of the people she saw in the
TV if show. I haven't seen your face, I don't remember. If I haven't seen your face, I don't remember who you are.
She doesn't remember Dunson, Polliver, Rafa Sweetly, and even the Tickler who had the common face. I think the Tickler's actually in the show.
I do remember like Rorig and Biter, and
so earlier she does say like Rorig and Biter were the scariest of the mummers.
Yeah. And Septon was just a diddler.
Yeah, just a diddler.
So she fell asleep.
Yep, finally gets to sleep.
But it woke her up. Something woke her up. Tingling. Fires burn down. Mudge's by the door. Rain stops, but now she hears wolves. Hundreds of wolves, it sounds like.
Lots of wolves.
She's like, I hope they eat the Hound. So, I mean, this is pretty good foreshadowing, right? Like, they've shown to be pretty protective of our Stark companions.
And earlier, the Hound had said...
Yeah,
when she was talking back, the Hound had said, like...
You know what hounds do to wolves, right?
Yeah,
dogs do to wolves.
I don't understand because I feel like a wolf would fuck up a dog.
I think if you had like a pack of hunting dogs on a wolf,
I can see
maybe
that,
is what he's trying to get at. But I mean, he's one hound. Yeah. So I think this pack of wolves is probably pretty stacked against him, especially if one of them's a dire wolf.
Yep.
Controlled by a human too, right? Like kind of.
Arya was just sleeping. Yeah. So when she wakes up in the morning, all the mummers are getting buried, and they send some people out to scout, make sure the hound's not nearby. They come back, no sight of him. Some of you archer people hang in the back. I think they said that earlier or whatever. They get in the saddle. They're on the way to River Run, right? Is that what she says?
Well, she has a little bit of a combo with Gendry.
Oh, she said. Oh, she's talking to Gendry, or she thinks, yeah, you could have made swords.
Gendry comes up and says, "I'm sorry," and she's just like, "Fuck off."
I don't even. Yeah, he did come up to say sorry.
Yeah, that's where I saw River Run. He says, "I'm sorry," and she was thinking you could have made swords at River Run, and he says instead she told him, "If you want to ride with these stupid outlaws and get hanged, why do I care? Yep. I'll be safe at River Run with my brother."
That's like a little bit of crush behavior, right? It feels like.
For sure.
Well, you don't want to
come with me, fine.
I think it could be, but also it's just like everyone leaves her.
I know, but I feel like she's kind of catching some feelings for him here too.
I think she's trying to learn to not get attached to anybody.
Well, that's fair.
Because like, fuck it, they're gonna leave me.
And then there was no rain for that day, so things have changed a little bit, I guess, huh?
Yep, good day.
So in order of time, or in sake of time, I'm gonna give you my prediction without even being prompted. I'm thinking that somehow they end up meeting up with Brienne, right? Like, so she's gonna be stuck with the mummers somehow.
Yep.
They think they're gonna be out somewhere, and so hopefully we get Arya and Brienne. That's what I'm hoping for.
All right.
So we'll see.
In the middle of a mummers versus brave brotherhood battle.
Like they free her, and then because I think the dynamic between those two, like Brienne has been trying to get Arya anyway. Yeah. Like I think that kind of leads to some of this, right? So something happens where they come together.
Two people are actually going to meet up when it was their mission to.
Yeah, I think we're bound to have something like that happen. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
All right, well, we'll see you in the next one in Bran 3.
See you, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. See you in the
high-pitched voice. Bye.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you on the next one for Bran 3. Now on the spoiler section for Arya 7. Jeff?
Bum, bum,
what we got?
All right, big one coming in. You don't even have this one, which is crazy. This chapter began at dawn.
Did it say the word dawn, though?
Yeah, let me find it, since you don't believe me. Since you don't read with a fine-tooth comb like me. Alright, so the eastern horizon glowed golden pink, and overhead a half moon peeked out through low blah 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 blah. There was a smell of rain in the dawn air, but no drops were falling yet.
Okay.
Yep, so pretty much Arya is Lightbringer.
Arya's gonna be Lightbringer. Arya's gonna be Azor Ahai and wield Lightbringer.
Yeah. And she'll have to kill Gendry.
Which means Needle's Lightbringer. Which means she's gonna stab Gendry.
That's not true. It doesn't need to be Valyrian steel.
I don't think so.
Or that's just, we're not assuming that Lightbringer is House Dane's sword.
I mean, yeah, that House Dane's sword is called Dawn.
Yeah, which is when the light comes. But maybe that's more so of the. I mean, if Arya's gonna, Arya stabbed the Night King in said show.
You're right. So like the whole point of like Dawn inferring who like Azor Ahai is saying like who's gonna wield the actual sword Dawn, which is why I always pointed out when it's related to Jon, because everybody thinks Jon's gonna be Azor Ahai, the guy who wields Dawn, aka the real Lightbringer. So yeah, saying that Needle is Lightbringer doesn't make any sense, because then you just take the actual Dawn part out of that.
Yeah, maybe Needle breaks in the big fight, and she finds Lightbringer in a rock.
Sword and Stone. I would say this is more of a evidence, one of those things where we point out every time we see Dawn when we think it matters, and we point it out every time we see it when we think it doesn't. I don't think it does matter.
Yeah, I think it's just the time of day.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
All right, give me one of yours.
Arya has the hands of a blacksmith. This is a line that they also used in the show.
I thought it was she doesn't have the hands of a blacksmith.
No, it's because like she's no good at needlework.
Oh, because you can't needle and shit like that. Okay.
Yeah, you have the hands of like a crude worksman's hands, not like a finesse.
All right, what's the big meaning behind it?
Gendry's a blacksmith. Like, oh, you have my hand, like in
marriage. And she has little crushy, mad boo hate at the end.
Yeah, that like Kyle said. Even Kyle said he thought it was crushing. Again, I think this could just be more of a I'm losing people. But yeah, I don't hate this theory.
But I think she does like Gendry. I mean, didn't she see him a couple chapters ago? Like, wow, Gendry's actually like a man type of thing, or.
Maybe a little bit. I think
she's also young. She's also young.
In the show, there's definitely a few moments where she's like, especially in the later seasons, where she like looks at Gendry's like, damn. Like Gendry's got his shirt off walking on dragon glass.
To the point where she throws him down on the hay bale.
Oh yeah, for sure. Exactly. So like that kind of stuff I feel like is tainting and I'm trying to stick to book stuff. I don't know if there's really been that much like romantic interest at all outside friendship.
I don't know. I think she means it more as a friend.
I think it's interesting to think about though, because I think it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, we know soon that she's not going to see him for a long time, and how long that time actually is going to be unknown. She could be like 15 by then, right?
Yeah, I mean, also weird thing, like Gendry's a knight. Like, I feel like I forgot this happened.
He's knighted by a knight, so technically he's a knight, right?
Did this happen in the show? I feel like I forgot that Gendry was a knight. I don't think Gendry gets knighted in this show.
I don't think they ever like officially did it. They're like, yeah, you can start smithing for us. That'd be great. And then they sell him to the Red Woman. There's no knighting ceremony.
Again, I think it's because Beric just knighting anybody makes his whole thing kind of less credible.
There's got to be like a little bit of standards to a knight, like because a knight, we know from Brienne that a knight can knight a knight, right? Or just like dunk an egg, right?
Yeah, that's where I think we're. Yeah, I think what again part of this, if you actually like go like a little more meta, you step back. I think what this goes to show is like kind of to your point. It takes more than being knighted to be a real knight. Like what Sansa would call a true knight. The most true knights we know are Brienne and Dunk, neither of which are real knights. And then we have all these cats who are fucking knights, air quotes, technically. But yeah, they're outlaws. They're stealing from people, and like, I mean, for the most part, these guys are good, and they're like doing Robin Hood, steal from the rich, give to the poor, which for the most part is a good thing, right? But yeah, I think that's kind of what the point is like the actual title knight doesn't mean shit. It's what's the Batman
quote? What you do with your actions.
It's not what you say; it's what you do that what's the Batman quote? It's what we do that defines us. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's not what you say; it's what you do that defines you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's not that you Beric saying everybody's a knight. Blah blah blah. Okay, I don't give a fuck what you say. Dunk is the real knight. Brienne is the real knight.
Protect the people.
Yeah,
which is basically what their vows are, right? Like, don't you pledge to be the protector of the small folk, basically? Which I don't know if that's the knight vows or if that's the brotherhood vows.
I mean, I don't. Again, it's one of the things I have as a quote here. I don't know if we ever actually have seen the vows before, but Beric reads them here. Do you swear before the eyes of gods and men to defend those who cannot defend themselves, to protect all women and children, to obey your captains, your liege lord, and your king, to fight bravely when needed, and to do such other tasks as are laid upon you, however hard or humble or dangerous they may be? That's the vows.
Interesting that he said gods.
Very good point. I thought that too. I think Anguy also says gods at one point. I forgot to put it to make a special note of it, or maybe I did and we just skipped over it. But I think Anguy also says gods at one point in this chapter. Also, kind of the question I posed to Kyle: what does the Lord of Light have in store with Beric and the Hound?
Beric's purpose we know is to bring back Stoneheart, basically, right? That would
exactly. In the show, he lives on to do all kinds of stuff. In the books. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he gets all the way up to the wall, and does he die at the wall then? Like,
he dies in season 8. He's like, kind of doing this, holding the wall, and Arya, and
he's in the battle. I didn't realize he made it to the battle of Winterfell. I thought he maybe died for the
Again,
Like,
I
yeah.
actually like season 8, episode 2, when they all like kind of reunite. Like, and I think there's a part where Arya, the Hound, and Barrack are like up sitting all on the walls, and I don't remember what they say,
dude,
but
I can't believe you love that episode so much. I know that like every episode is just kind of like random shit thrown at the wall, but that was literally like an hour of just watching people talk to each other.
yeah, but people who hadn't talked to each other in like 3 seasons, and I know you who binged it all after season 8, who it was like, oh, I saw this,
Not
I saw
after.
Arya and but you're like, oh, I saw the Arya and the Hound talk like 2 months ago
Sure.
when you watched
whatever.
season 8, right?
Dude, you were literally
Me,
crying.
I didn't see Arya
when
and the Hound talk till like
Pod
7 years ago or whatever.
Pod sang a song and you cried.
Shut up.
No, that was real life.
Moving on. Talking about
What
songs.
a great song.
Speaking of songs, Reigns of Castamere. I'm really surprised Kyle remembered this. I wasn't gonna really tell him too much. I was afraid you were gonna spoil it. I don't think you spoiled it. I think the way you did it was really good. You're like, Kyle, we know of this, don't you? And you made him answer it.
Kyle, I was like, Kyle, you've heard of Reigns of Castamere, right? Like, what is he gonna learn from a song? He's not gonna. He didn't.
If he hadn't heard of it, or well, I mean, that's the other thing is like we did hear of it.
Oh, Kyle, did you hear Reigns of Castamere? No, I didn't. Oh, okay. What's he gonna?
Well,
shit.
No. I was afraid you weren't gonna say. Did you hear of it? You were just gonna say, Reigns of Castamere. You know this. This is blank. This is the song about Tywin doing.
Wouldn't have done that.
But you didn't. You did good. I mean, you've done that before.
I'm
things like that before.
Talent for the reason. How about his guess that Brienne and I mean, it's to his point. Like he's been rooting for Arya to get back to somebody at some point. So now he's kind of changed from her getting back to
that's a good point.
Riverrun that he's going to get back to Brienne, which I don't think is right away. But she doesn't even get back to her, right? She kind of...
Arya never sees Brienne. In the show, they cross paths with the Hound.
Oh. Does Arya actually fight the Hound? How does the Hound fall?
No, the Hound gets hurt fighting the Mountains men in the inn. Where Arya gets needle back and kills Paul.
Oh, and that's where she says goodbye to him?
He's hurt for a little while, but like not doing well. And eventually she just like leaves him on the road. Like there's not like a final battle. He's just like sick for like a week and then
tree, right?
Getting worse. Yeah. And I think he's like asking for mercy.
So she's not dying. She doesn't even see better. She doesn't see Brienne.
Not in the books.
I was ready for the Hound to steal Arya at the end of this chapter.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I was thinking. Sorry, I didn't listen to the thing you just said. But when Kyle made his prediction, I was thinking, haha, idiot, good prediction, good idea, but you're wrong. But he's right, show wise.
He's right. Show wise, he was.
They do meet up. Yeah.
He's just a Dan and Dan thinker.
Yeah, Dave and Dan thinker.
Dave and Dan. Fuck those guys.
So what'd you say? Sorry.
So my next one was I thought the Hound was gonna steal Arya at the end of this chapter.
Yeah, I think that's next chapter. End of next chapter.
What do they do in the next? What's the next one with the? Do they go back to the witch lady?
I forget exactly. Yes, you're right. They do go back to the witch lady. They talk that happens, and I forget what pisses Arya off, but something pisses Arya off,
and she walks away.
Fuck you guys, and leaves. And managed to run away.
And she gets captured then.
Somehow she's the only one with a horse or something like that. And I just listened to it on audiobook like a week ago.
We'll get there soon enough.
I forget, but yeah.
What else you got?
Next one, Gendry at one point says, I was made to hold a hammer. Or my master told me I was made to hold a hammer.
He's Rob's son.
Exactly.
We've made that connection before.
For sure. They definitely said this before. But I think it's kind of cool that hammer.
Do you think he makes himself a warhammer soon?
That'd be cool.
Is he gonna find out that he's Rob's bastard?
He doesn't in the books. I think the next we see of Gendry after the next Arya, because he fucks off, is Feast of Crows. Brienne shows up at an inn that Gendry's at with a bunch of
Gendry's smithing. With
girls.
The kids, right?
Yeah, with a bunch of like orphan kids, and Rorig and Biter and a few of them show up, and Brienne has to fight them.
And gets fucked up in said fight.
Fucked up, but also fucks them up. And Gendry, I think, might step in there.
And that's when
Gendry's
they take Brienne captive.
Because Gendry, when she sees Gendry, she like almost shits herself thinking it's Renly. Right. So, and then they should be all together with Stoneheart. She'll be with Gendry probably more. Brienne will probably be with. We'll probably see Gendry more in Brienne chapters in Winds of Winter.
That's a long ways away. Gendry's about to be bye-bye to us.
What do you mean it's a long ways away? It could be tomorrow.
Timeline doesn't matter.
Oh, you mean from the podcast? Oh, from the podcast, it's a long ways away. I thought you meant like in real time. When's the winter? Could Shadow drop tomorrow?
It's not going to. You're crazy. You're crazy to think that.
You never know. Hope will get you beat.
Hope will get you beat. Hope is what rebellions are built on.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the other thing about hope. Last thing I had, Barrack. Let's talk about Jon.
Hope is also a big word in the Hunger Games. I forget what the president said.
I don't know. There's 4 things. So I was just way wrong.
Well, you're an idiot.
Last thing I had, Jon at the end of the books, dead.
Yes.
He is somehow gonna come back to life. Probably 99%. Maybe kiss fire, maybe not. But the whole what we learned about Barrack here, is Jon gonna not eat anymore? Is Jon gonna not sleep anymore? Is Jon gonna remember
I
Ned?
do think there's something with the 6th time, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like Jon, after his first death, will he?
He won't be as
still
fucked up as Barrack.
He's not as dead, type of thing.
So I think
Who cares if Jon never eats again?
No, I'm just saying.
I care more about Jon's personality. Is he going to be a fucking weirdo, Stoneheart?
Something that you might not be aware of, but if book fans were really pissed about in the show, was when Jon was resurrected. They thought that was going to happen. Book fans thought that was going to happen, but he's just like normal Jon.
Jon.
Nothing has changed about him at all.
We kind of forgot.
And I think we hear stuff either from Varamir or something like that, where if you spend too much time warging, if you literally just spend days in your wolf, then when you come back, you act more wolfish, in your own body. So people think that there's going to be a twofold thing happening with Jon. Basically, we're going to see the exact same thing that happens with Barrack. To your point, probably on a lesser extent. And the reason that people think of on the lesser extent is there's a thing that Aemon says where fire consumes and ice preserves, when he's explaining why he thinks he has lived so long,
and he's super super cold up there.
Exactly. And people compare this, and there's actually a George quote where I think people might have even been asking George, hypothetically, if someone were to come back from the dead, or maybe a character, I forget what they was asking, but basically what he said was, he ended up saying Barrack is a fire version of the Whites. He's brought back with fire magic in a similar way as the Whites are brought back with ice magic from the others. Mm-hmm. And people think that means that and it makes sense, right? Melisandre says there's the 2 gods. There's the one, and then the
Barrack's a little less zombie though than the Whites, though.
I would
he's
agree.
Actually talking and.
But along that point, there's an interesting fact that in Game of Thrones, when they bring the dead bodies back to the wall, right? They go out, Ghost finds the hand, and they send the people out. They find the 2 bodies, bring them back to the wall. When those bodies come back, wake up, where do they go? They kill one person.
To kill Gior.
They go to kill Gior, so that's where one of them goes. The other one kills somebody. Mm-hmm. Jeremy Riker, who was the replacement acting first ranger for Benjen. So they go for 1 and 2.
Okay.
So the thought there is they remember somebody.
Hive mind.
Or they remember something. They were Night's Watchmen. They knew where Jeremy Riker and
but why would they be their target if it wasn't a hive mind? They'd have to get the updates of who the most wanted list was.
For sure. There's definitely they're not 100% in control of their bodies anymore type thing. But I think that's interesting that in the books, you're right. They seem completely mindless. But or in the show, they seem completely mindless. But even the show, they at least go for Mormont. So
I'm saying that
actually, more in the show. I think there's a line. Sorry, I think there's a line in the show that isn't in the books. And somebody correct me in the comments, or Jeff, if you remember, if it is, where Osha says, is telling Bran, I had a husband, or I had a man. He was good to me. And one day he went out and he came back with blue eyes, but he remembered where we lived or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember that at all.
There's definitely a line where Osha
they just go to kill the person that they remembered. What I was going to say is that Barrack was killed, but he is acting he doesn't remember the details about his younger days, but he seems to remember that he was fighting with Thoros right before he had first died.
Yeah.
So like, why wouldn't he go to attack Thoros and kill him right away? Type of thing. Is just my counter.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's all I got. And we'll see you guys in the next one for Brand 2.
Thanks for hanging out.
Where he's at Queen's Crown and sees, I think he sees John. I think John shows up at the end of the chapter. He doesn't know it's John, but we'll find out in the next chapter after that because that's John. And he's at Queen's Crown too.
Well,
character crossover.
Is this when John's got to break up with Egret?
Yeah, that's 2 chapters from now. And Bran sees the beginnings of that in the next Bran.
Is he about to warg into Hodor?
Yeah, he wargs into Hodor in the next chapter.
Wow.
And he saves the day with some. I think Summer saves the day.
He double wargs.
Summer helps John out. I'm pretty sure. I just don't remember if Bran's actually involved.
I think
or not.
Both dogs.
In the show, both dogs because Rickon's still with them.
Rickon's gone.
This is where Rickon and them split up in the show. Is right at this point.
After
Osha's with them too at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the books, it's just the 4 of them now. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see you guys there for this one. For that one.
All right, dog.
See you next one. Bye bye. Like, subscribe.
Bye.